record, I'm Bill Miller. I question why you need another study. There have been two other studies. Tim referenced one that was done about 15 years ago by NHTB, which is a HNTB, which is a large engineering firm worldwide. And it was done out of their Overland Park, Kansas office, and it was very detailed as to what the future growth of roads should be around here. And yes, the Baycrest was part of the read from that study. It gets into the rest of the roads that are still in town, and you know, really Grove hasn't grown that much that a whole lot's changed as far as our road needs are concerned. Yeah, we got a nice 4-lane highway coming in with the same traffic that used to come in on a 2-lane, and it still narrows down to a 2-lane road through the center of town, so that hasn't changed. We haven't annexed any property in the last 10 years, so we really aren't having any more growth within the corporate limits of Grove. There was also, back just after the year 2000, a independent study done by a retired engineer from ODOT, and some of you may know him, Gary Mathias. And he came in with a very detailed plan of some thoughts of his relative to a future growth plan for roads and the design of roads and signage and just a whole lot of details. And that didn't go anywhere, but I imagine it's, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I'm sure we can get another copy of it. And I think, Bonnie, you're familiar with it when Gary presented that. I think it was to Richard Wall, as a matter of fact. So there's a couple of studies already, you know, that we ought to go in and at least parse them out and see what there is in there before we go and spend another $100,000, which is basically rounded numbers what you're talking about here. As far as I know, there's already engineering plans and drawings for the upgrading of Shundai and State Park Road from Main to Broadway. And they were paid for by the city and with tax money. And those plans are around, and we really ought to look at completing some of the other things that we had underway in the past.
Bill, could I ask you what information that was based upon to develop those plans for Shundai?
It was an extension of 18th Street, widening.
But why 18th Street? The underlying question of why that street and not any other streets inside of Grove.
I'm not going to get into the past details on it.
No, I'm trying to explain to you why we're doing what we're doing.
But it's a loop around town, 18th Street. Obviously, it was a well-planned road with the hospital being turned around to front onto that road. They needed a second road to come into it. And with all of the infrastructure that's been moved into the industrial park, with the new post office, with the new library, you got medical facilities up there and so forth, it makes sense to continue Shundai all the way around up to Highway 10 or maybe even up to North 3rd Street.
Would that be more important than 13th Street or Harbor Road or
definitely, from the amount
how do you know that unless you have the statistics and the analysis done on each road?
Let me answer your question.
No, I mean, that's a basic question, Bill.
The basic answer is there's nowhere to walk along Shundai over that culvert. And sooner or later, somebody's going to get killed there. And I'd like to go on record tonight of advising the city that you got a dangerous point there, and really something needs to be done about it. And if somebody does get killed, now you've been warned about it, and I think the city then is liable. So that's on record. I hope it goes on record, Bonnie.
Bill, you don't want to get me into 13th Street or 18th Street, do you?
No.
Okay.
What's that? You still haven't answered my question, though.
Because it makes sense.
So did an engineer ever come in here and do any kind of analysis and stated,
well, let's look and see what that 1995 plan was. It had Shundai being improved.
Okay, over 13th Street, and those conditions of those roads haven't changed since
13th Street was the other one.
Have those conditions of those
roads... Let me finish what my presentation is.
Just answer my question, Bill.
I'm answering your question.
You're not answering my
question.
question.
Shundai was part of that traffic study.
Have the conditions of those roads changed since then? Has the traffic volumes changed?
Definitely. The traffic volume on Shundai
so should we study that?
Significantly.
Should we change that?
Why study it?
Because you automatically know what the traffic volumes are, the road conditions are.
Okay, continuing on.
Don't answer my question.
No, I'm not going to answer your question anymore. I think I've done it already. you know, we've got all of that new facilities out there, and you're still feeding it through a two-lane country road coming up Shunday.
Can I answer your
13th
question, Bill? Can I answer your question?
Let me finish
No,
this.
I'm gonna finish first. If the study comes
And I
through,
for it, Mayor.
Tell you what I'm gonna do. I am gonna let you finish, Mr. Miller, okay?
Thank
And
you.
Go ahead and,
And then we'll get into discussion on the whole thing.
I just want, just
let's
about
go
the
ahead and
study.
finish, and I'll ask Mr. Parham, if you would, sir, just go ahead and make note of your question of what you wanna ask at this point. And I will come back to you first.
Okay, 13th Street from Main to Shunday. This has been talked about forever in this town, that needs to be widened. It's a major arterial in town, as is Shunday, a major arterial. It provides additional access to the sports complex as well as the hospital, and it'll be the main access for the new EMS facility. So 13th Street does need to be widened and improved, no question about it. State Park Road from Main to Broadway. The road's in need of major repairs. Anybody can tell that just by driving over it. Plans are already in place to widen that road at least as far as Main Street, or from Main to Broadway, which completes then the Broadway loop up around the other side of town through what we have already in a land use plan called Broadway, almost all commercial. So it makes sense to fix that road, and it's getting so bad right now. I just think from a, you know, wrecking of the cars that are going across it needs to be fixed. Then I got a question here. Why was Rosa McCary being considered for his transportation plan? According to their website, there's no indication they've done previous traffic studies and come up with master plans. HNTB has done work in the past. In fact, they used the Grove plan that they did as one of their advertising features on their brochures that they have nowadays. And then I like to remind the council of one thing. Back about 3 years ago, there were some trifoals sent out in an election. And you all made commitments to the citizens that you would minimize or eliminate any outside contracts for this sort of work. And Larry, I think you put it well. The council could do this. This is not rocket science, the roads that are apparently needing to be done here in town. So I just suggest that, you know, this isn't appropriate this time. Why aren't we going out for bids on this? It certainly is a large enough number that it should be bidded out with requests for proposals coming in, and then the council look at those proposals before you make a contract with somebody. Okay, go.
If a study came through by chance from whomever got the contract, I would have no problem extending whatever streets that they said. If it'd be Shunday, it'd be Shunday. There's nothing personal there isn't there. So if that's what it said, after listening to your concerns about what you felt, I feel more obliged now to do the study and the survey.
That's fine.
Because now, like I don't know which one of these things should be first, but by you're expressing your needs and your concerns, I now feel like you should have.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make my voice heard, and if that's what you're doing, just go and do it.
Okay.
Well,